Nexxlegacy.
For this edition of Nexxlegacy Radio, I hope everybody is not just tuned in, locked in, logged in for the next couple of hours, but, I mean, you know, at least right now we get a chance to speak to music greatness, in my opinion. And before I put a mic on him and have him say hello to the world, I want to thank everybody overseas listening. And shout out to 92.3 The Beat in Japan, which is not just friends and family of the show, but a big fan of Easy Mo B, who was our guest. And, of course, he is brought to you by his Twitter account. You can go follow him on Twitter at Easy_Mo_B. And this guy right here, I was just telling this man, offline, I was like, man, it's kind of like we've been homeboys for so long, but we just now meeting for the first time, you know what I mean? And music kind of tends to do that. Music kind of tends to basically kind of grab you into a spot in your life where you can be able to not just have relatable songs, but also kind of create a bond. And I always felt that way when it comes to music. Music is like a fraternity. And at the end of the day, especially if you're making good music and music that matter, a lot of people out there is feeling what I'm saying. And this gentleman, he's celebrating 25 years of being in the industry, producing for a lot of people. And you heard the track right there with Tupac. He did a lot of songs with Big Daddy Kane. He worked with Diddy. He worked with the Notorious B.I.G., Alicia Keys. He's partnered with Chuck D. This man has a lot of stuff on his resume. Did tracks for LL. The list can go on and on and on, and I just hope everybody can embrace and appreciate, like I do, the man of not just an hour, but many decades. Easy Mo B is my guest on that. Live and direct. What's good, man? How you doing?
I'm all right, just chilling. Thanks for having me.
Man, I hope you heard that intro I just laid down for you, man. I hope you're cool with that.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, young man. How's everything?
All right, man. Just surviving, man. Just living. 2014, man. I'm glad to be here,
Hey, of course. And like I said, man, I mean, you're a young man in my eyes, so it's like celebrating 25 years of working with not just, certain celebrities I mentioned, like Pac, like Biggie, like Alicia Keys, like LL, Big Daddy Kane, and so on and so forth. Like, I mean, has this 25 years, has it just kind of came and, just kind of took off and you didn't even know it was 25 years at the end of the day?
Man, it's been a nice ride. I've seen a lot of changes, and just like I said, just being grateful to still be here and still have something to offer. To still, whether other people believe it or not, still be relevant, Because I'm a lover of music, and people don't know that. A lover of all kinds of music, all kinds of genres, all kinds of styles. It's just interesting to see, where the music is today, where we progress to. The good things that people are doing, the bad things that people are doing, the people that seem confused, the ones that still seem on point. It's all interesting. Right. It's all music.
And how do you feel? I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, I still consider myself a young man. So when I look back and I think 25 years, I'm thinking that's literally around the corner. But you're right. Music has changed so much during that span. Like, just a few things if you can. Just what are some of the things that you see on a positive tip that we've witnessed over the last 25 years, in your opinion?
Okay, for one thing, as far as the medium is concerned, with the internet, that's just created another broad spectrum, another whole avenue, another whole, opportunity for us to relay and get our ideas, get our music, get everything across. The problem is, now that it's so easy, some of everything is just coming through, across that line, and
right.
And you just have to be wise enough as a listener, as a consumer, as a music lover, to be able to sift through all of it, and just kind of, nitpicking take the best out of it, or what you can see, because there's so much out there right now, man. So I have to be thankful for the technology. But what it's done is it's kind of created a situation where basically anybody can make music and put it out right now. And,
right.
You know?
Right.
And it at another time, a while ago, you take like the late 80s, early 90s, it wasn't like that. You had to actually, first of all, you actually had to be good enough, and then after you certified as good enough, then you had to have contacts or know somebody to be able to get into a studio, get in contact with a producer, record labels and things like that. So it's just a lot easier right now. And I think that's affected the quality of the music. You know,
I kind of look at it like this, especially when it comes to us as a consumer, because you know I'm an old school DJ. I'll go buy my records so I can spend it for the parties. That's to me. I think that's how it should always be done. I mean, it's more, to me, more authentic. Like, I feel like I should never have to go and try to search for it for free, or I have to go get it from somebody else. I mean, I think, you know, as DJs and as media folks, we take pride in ownership, and I think, you know, the fan base has to do the same in a sense, because like you said, it's easy, but I mean, didn't Pac say, I don't want it if it's that easy? I mean, it's kind of like we gotta make sure that we bridge that gap between being supportive of the artists that matter to you versus just trying to find an easy lane to be able to listen to music nowadays, right?
Yeah, and you know, and it always was like that. We always had, you know, a certain percentage of that music on the side that I hate to say, but it just really don't matter, you know.
Oh, of course, no doubt.
Like again, like I was saying, the medium was a little bit more constrained back at that time, so only but so much was coming through it. Now with the internet, you know, you have there's a wider tunnel. There's a greater amount of space for people to fit through and do things.
Yep. How do you with that being a positive? Because I always see the social media as a you know, positive. There's also a negative attached to it. But what are some of the struggles that you see, especially for our hip hop culture? And I know you're real diverse and you work with a lot of people in different genres of the globe when it comes to music, especially with our hip hop culture. Like, what do you see lacking, in a sense, where it's going to be hard for us to be able to grow this culture like it was grown, like it started, like in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and then and so on, you know?
Well, for one thing, let's take it all the way back to, and a lot of people will think that this doesn't have a lot to do with hip hop, but it does. Like the Bad Boys, the Rockefellers, you know, you go as early as what Bad Boy was born out of, Uptown Records with Andre. I'm just kind of disappointed in the lack of what we used to know as artist development.
Right.
You know, somebody that will take a lot of these artists by their hand, if need be, dress them up, prepare them, you know, in a social light for media, how to present yourself, how to speak, you know, all of that type of stuff is important, man. You know, you can have a great record, but if your presentation is not correct, it's like, it makes people sit up and say, yo, who's, you know what I mean, who's nurturing this cat? Who's behind it? Like nobody, doesn't seem like they're taking them by the hand. And a lot of these labels that I'm talking about, the early ones, the Uptowns, and then Bad Boy was growing out of that, and the Rockefellers, and, you know, a lot of those labels, they was all modeled after, like, Motown and stuff like that. You know, there was a lot of artist development. The artists were cultured, they were designed, man. It was real important. And it just seems like to me like nobody is taking a lot of these artists by their hand and kind of developing and directing them.
And Moby, correct me if I'm wrong. You've been in this game, like I said, 25 years plus. I mean, I want to say plus because you're a music head. You've been there. You've done that. You've heard it all. So I'm looking at the game like this. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, there's no timeline on developing an artist so they can be able to have the kind of impact like like in hip hop, let's just say a Tupac or Biggie, or in music, let's say a Whitney Houston or an Alicia Keys for that matter, artists like that. Like, I mean, there's no rush to the altar, so to speak. Like, you can take your time, you can develop those, artists. Some of them might be, I guess, in a lot of ways, the special case. Like, you might have some of those overnight people that just, shot to superstardom, but that's rare. But in most cases, like, we don't have to rush to the altar when it comes to developing our younger kids and our artists and the music that we created, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's true. It's just a lot of the artists that's on their own. This is the artist development thing we was talking about. In that case, there was elders and there was departments and stuff, people that could take the artist by the hand and help shape them, design them, help form them into what they need to be. But a lot of the independent artists that's putting a lot of their stuff out themselves, as you can see, they're self-employed. They're on their own.
Right.
They're doing it all on their own. So that's up to them. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
That's kind of like up to. So there is no rush. You know what I mean?
It shouldn't have to be.
I
mean, that's the way I see it. It's like, especially if it's good music, and even on a production standpoint too, you don't have to rush. You don't have to rush and make your beats. Like, I'm pretty sure when you did work for Pac, for Biggie, for Alicia Keys, I'm pretty sure, you wasn't on their. I mean, you kind of wasn't really on their time, but they wasn't on yours, vice versa. I mean, you got it when you felt like you can be able to deliver them the kind of music that you think they would be proud of. You took your time to do it, right?
Yeah, you take, for instance, I'm glad that you mentioned Alicia Keys, because in the studio with her, and it was fun working with her because, she showed up in the studio, Tim's untied, jeans. I remember it was like smoking, boiling hot outside, just like this is hot as it is now in New York in the summertime. And it's like hot inside, but cool atmosphere inside, air conditioning. She shows up with the Timbs untied, and it's the relaxed atmosphere. She's sitting over at the piano, tinkering to the beat, and we just exchanging ideas back and forth. And right, there was no rush. There was like a correlation between the two. We took our time, and also too, Dwayne Wiggins, because from Tony,
no doubt,
all three of us, we just correlated together, and and took our time. And that's the way it's supposed to be. That I made a beat in 8 minutes and stuff like that. I don't have anything to prove, you know what I mean? I've done stuff like that, and sometimes it happens like that, but it's really about getting right,
And really, to me, I think that's what makes timeless music. Like, I went through a lot of just some of the work that you have, being a fan first, and it's just like I told you, being a fan, it's like I already knew your work. So, and when I started going down the discography of a lot of the people that I didn't even know you actually put a lot of work into when it came to certain things, like, certain artists or whatnot. I was like, wow, like, I didn't even know that at the end of the day. So what I'm saying is, like, when you do take your time, you can be able to have tracks that will withstand the test of time, that people can be able to relate to, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, and it matters. And a lot of that just kind of had to do with not just the development of an artist, but also the development and patience as a producer too, putting out those kind of hits, right?
Yeah, and I will say that let's take for instance the 90s. Okay, let's examine that period. You say 1994, 1995. Okay, in 1989, we just had Guy.
Right.
We had, which you might as well say is Teddy Riley. We had Big Daddy Kane,
okay,
right there around right there around that, somewhere around that time was the birth of like Tribe Called Quest, and they come out of what? The native tongues.
Mm-hmm.
And then think about what they was influenced by. They was influenced by like a whole legacy of music that came just hours. It seemed like right before then. I'm talking about anything from Al Green to James Brown, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and they was incorporating that into the music. As more and more time goes on, the generation gets younger and younger, and we get farther and farther away from that great legacy of music. Whenever I do a lot of interviews, people always ask me, what's one of the last things that you want to say? And I always try to say, if you can do anything, especially you being an artist, producer, or anybody in this business today, please take time to do the research and value the legacy of music. In particular, when we talk about hip-hop and R&B and jazz and those forms of music, soul, funk, and all of that, please go back and just do the research and take the time. Man, there's a wealth of stuff that it don't even have to be sampled. You just sit around and listen to that body of music, that legacy of music, and automatically, without even sampling it, you will just listen, and your mind will be open, and you'll be influenced to just do things. That's how all of the records that I've done, everything that I've done has always been based upon something that I heard or that I was influenced. And people know me. I got a whole basement full of records. I've been collecting records since I was like 8 years old. Music is
Amen
a really big so I think it's got a lot to do with that too. The difference in which you have the effect of the music that you have now, as opposed to a lot of the artists that came a little bit before us. You know, they was influenced by something totally different. I tell people all the time. Take, for instance, a kid right now today that's 14. That means that he was born, in 2000, right?
2000, yep.
If he's 14 years old, he was born in 2000. This is a 14-year-old kid that loves hip-hop. Okay, so, and we don't start to remember stuff until we at least around like 2 years old and better or something like that.
No doubt.
Okay,
exactly.
So in 2002, what was his mom's and pops listening to? You understand what I'm saying? We influenced by the stuff that we came up around, and whoever was doing what around us, that's what we took in. And when we get older, if you notice, you're a product and you're a fruit of that.
That's right. That's right.
That's something to think about today too. And a lot of the generation that we have here that's much younger and farther away from, in years, away from that body of music and that legacy we was talking about.
Right.
With the opportunity for them to be influenced by it. It's not their fault. They just happen to be younger. But the same way how the internet is available to us, and you know how they always tell you there's a wealth of information there on the internet. You could actually graduate, become a college. Online. Yeah, you could become it's so much information. You could sit there and you could, rummage through porn and gossip websites, or you could take the time and you could sit there and you could really, really learn.
Yep.
And that's I'll be using the internet for. Sometimes I'll just sit up and I'm listening to James Brown or old JB's album or Betty Wright. And now let me Google that album. Go to Wikipedia. They start breaking it down. Then in the results, they got like 36,714 other results. The wealth of knowledge is there. Take it in. Use it. You know what I mean? Let it influence you. Go back and try and be familiar with the whole reason why you're doing it now.
Right.
You know?
And music, to me, I think, especially when it comes to an Easy Mo B, renowned producer celebrating his 25th year in entertainment, is our guest on Nexxlegacy Radio. And I've always saw, not just the internet, but just in general, like, I'm learning from you, and I'm always going to form my opinions, and I'm always going to have my thoughts after we conversate, but to me, it's always good to be able to get the game from the people that either did it before me or that knows more than me. And to me, I think it's not even an ego trip for somebody to say, hey, you know what, Easy, you know more than I do. And I can completely and utterly say, hey, you know what, I'm here to sit down and learn from you. As opposed to, in most cases how it is now, people just, okay, well, I feel like I know more than you, so, my opinion is going to be worth more than yours. So it's kind of like that back and forth. You get that with some of the younger kids, but at the same time, like the humble ones are going to, sit and they're going to pay attention and they're going to listen and they're going to hear, not just listen, but hear. And they're also going to just be able to form their own opinion as well when it comes to just the music in general.
But I also have to give credit to, and you probably won't find these artists on the radio or in the forefront, but there is also, too, a large percentage of newer and younger artists, and a lot of them are not just artists, they're not artists or even in the business. Some of them are just music lovers, just hungry for the information, hungry for the knowledge, hungry for the legacy, and they could tell you stuff that you don't even know. I've run into and I come in contact a lot of times with a lot of them, so that's to be appreciated too.
That's very true. No, very good point. There is a lot of, especially, some of the peers, some of the young kids that's in this music business today. I've heard them, seen them perform, or, them paying homage to some of the musicians before them. And, that gives me hope that this entertainment business could kind of, turn itself around from being stagnant to being filled with a wealth of creative artists and stuff like that. So my next question to you, sir, is this. I had a conversation with Chris Martin, a.k.a. Play of Kid and Play. We were just kind of talking, and he posted something the other day about just the fact that we need a lot more female MCs. We need creative female MCs, because it kind of seemed like, you may have like one or two or three right now in the mainstream, and then that's all that there is, even though that's not true. So my question is, what happened? What happened? Because we had MC Light, we had Latifah, we had Yo-Yo, we had Eve, we had, we had Foxy Brown, we had et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's just kind of like it's only a good two that people talk about. What happened to the culture of the female MC?
I can't even say, man. I don't even know. I'll give you an example. I'm on your wavelength, because just last week, Moni Love, we follow each other on Twitter, so I get her stuff in the home, and I saw where she posted something about, the same thing you talking about,
Right.
She was like, it's sad, but, she said it's sad, something to the effect of, it's sad that there's not room enough for more than two female rappers or female hip-hop artists at one time. So I just kind of like replied, word up. and then and I retweeted it, and then I had put number sign, and I was like, the disappearance of the females in hip-hop.
Right.
I really can't say where that's coming from and how that happened, man. I really don't. I don't know.
It can't, and Moby,
I wish I could answer it. I don't know how it happened, but I would agree with you. We definitely need an equal balance.
And it's missing, man. Like, I mean, you think about Moby, you think about Missy and how creative she was. You think about Eve and how dope and creative she was. She was in her own lane. You think about Lady of Rage. You think about so many. And I know you worked on Lady of Rage on her only solo album. And And it's like you have so many, and even before them, it was Salt and Pepper, it was MC Light, it was Latifah. Man, come on, like those list of ladies is just like transcendent, and it's kind of like now over the last decade and a half, Mo B, like I don't see it, man. I miss that, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I do too, man. I don't know. I hope that that does shape up. I do see something taking effect, and I see something happening, and I don't know. You could correct me if I'm wrong, though. It seems like I don't know. It seems like they're trying to replace Nicki Minaj with the Iggy Azalea girl.
Iggy, yes, they are. Yes, they are.
It just seems.
And you're right, Moby, and even on that, I don't get, because, okay, well, I have my reservations on Nikki, but she's creative as far as that goes, but, I have my opinions about that. But, I mean, Iggy, they can share the same spotlight. There doesn't have to be a token female queen in order for it in order for the game to be a game. I mean, every queen can be able to have their share of the spotlight. I mean, it doesn't have to be just one.
Yeah. It's just kind of scarce out there. Just looking around, I'm like, we need a balance.
It is.
Man.
It is.
We not only need a balance. We not only need an equal balance of male and female MCs, but we also need an equal balance as far as the textures go. There's a lot of commercial stuff.
Yeah.
And this is no disrespect to them. There's a lot of down south stuff, but we need also another equal balance of, the cats that like to sample and the cats that still might have their conscious raps, the cats that still into this straight MCing and good old generic hip hop. That a lot of that stuff deserves to be out there. I spoke of it earlier, the period like 89, 1990, like around there, the guy, Big Daddy period. I was telling you about. If you think about it, I think that was one of the best diverse times, man. In 89, you would have, like, all at the same time. NWA. You have NWA, Al B. Sure, MC Hammer, Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, Anita Baker, and all of this stuff was coming through Black Radio.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, and you're right. Like, you're right. Towards the end of the 80s and the 90s, I always felt like it was a decade of diversity. Everybody was winning because, you had your, what people called, and you remember this term, backpack rapping. You had your Das Effects. You had your Foosnickens. You had your Wu-Tang Clan. You had Tupac. You had Biggie. You had NWA. You had Public Enemy. For every yin, there was a yang. And to me, it just seemed like it flourished, and then it stopped. And I just didn't understand where and how did it stop when it was so culturally driven, because I feel like 90s was a decade of not just it being culturally diverse, but we saw a lot of businesses form based off of the entertainment business during that decade, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You know what I want to do right now too? Also, there's a lot of cats out there working on the low. I mean, big shout to different people that I know that I love and respect. Like at Tito from the Fearless Four, he has an annual award ceremony that he does called Team Fearless Honors Awards, and I ran into so many different people that shout to Ed O.G. Yes, we're getting ready to do something together.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I like to hear. And you know what? I know, man, I could sit and talk to you for a lot. So I'm gonna ask you a few more questions before I let you go. But before I get into what you got going on with your 25th anniversary and what you have coming up with Slam Jams Records. I know there was a Biggie movie. I know it was Notorious that came out a while back. And you know they're working on a Tupac movie that's directed by John Singleton. And I know you work with both artists. You work with both artists. So, just your own opinion as far as these, posthumous movies, how they're portrayed, and just your opinion about just in general, because you work with both these guys, and both those guys had such an influence in hip hop and the culture that not only that we lived in today, but it was so rampant back before they both left us too soon. So what are your thoughts on just the movies from both, and then of course just how you feel about them in general?
Well, the Tupac one with John Singleton that I've been hearing about, I guess we're gonna have to wait to see that. But
right.
The Notorious one, a lot of people they had mixed feelings about it. I even had mixed feelings about it. First of all, there was no Easy Mo B in it.
Right. And I mean, Ready and Mo B, I mean, I'm sorry, Ready to Die, you had a heavy hand in the production of that album. I'm just saying.
Listen, for people who don't know or within earshot of this interview, if you don't know, I am the first producer that Biggie went into the studio with.
There you go.
He might have been fooling around doing demos or playing around at people's houses and stuff like that, but I'm the first real producer that he went into the studio. Before there was even Bad Boy, at first he was going to be on Uptown. The Party and Bull-ish on Who's the Man, that was the first time that we went into the studio. That was one of the first times that he went into the studio, and the first music that he did on the label was done with me. Also along with the Craig Mack stuff, the Flavor in Your Ear and Get Down and stuff like that. So, I don't know, I just felt like I wondered why, I didn't play a part in any kind of way in that film. That's one of the main key things that I just didn't like. The rest of it, I didn't have any control over how anybody else was portrayed or whatever.
Right.
That's on the director and the people that put it together. But I don't know, I just felt like I should have been in that because I played an integral role in his beginning.
Right.
And
I know and the Tupac thing, real quick. Let me touch on the Biggie thing. Like I feel like too, like when it comes, man, we're still waiting on a Marvin Gaye movie. You know what I mean? That it, hopefully can be done right, and you hope it will be done right. I know they're talking early stages, Richard Pryor, and I know we have one James Brown coming out next month, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, man, but a lot of those movies, it's just, if you're not getting the people that's involved from the very beginning. Go ahead.
I was going to say Jimi Hendrix and
Jimi Hendrix. That's right. Right. You're absolutely right.
Aaliyah is a lot
Aaliyah
coming.
Yep. And if you're not getting the goods from the people that was there sweating with them from the very beginning, then how can you tell a story? Like that's always been my thing with any movie that's been out. It's just hard to do.
I know we don't want to spend too much time on this, but when you're comparing biopics, you want to know, in my opinion, one of the best last biopics that was made, Ray, with Jamie Foxx.
Yep. Yes, sir. I completely agree.
That was very on point. It was very well made. You know what I mean? It should be like that. It should be something like that.
Hands down, like one of the very, very best ones, because you think about it though. I mean, I think before he died, I think Ray was he kind of was a little hands on too though, right?
I have no idea, but I just know that Jamie Foxx, he must have ate, slept, and breathed Ray Charles. After a while, I thought I was looking at Ray Charles,
No doubt. And real quick on the Tupac one, and real quick, Mo B, on the Tupac one, I know it's in its early stage, and I'm hoping with all the people out there that's listening from all over the globe, it's people can feel where we coming from. It's like, it's not, because to me, I think Me Against the World and your hand in that and helping that, continue to still be an epic CD. I kind of feel like, that was another, Tupac had so many different turning points in his life and career. I think Me Against the World was another one that really changed a lot, not just his life, but a lot of other people's lives too, with him being in jail during that time that it was released, it being number one while he was behind bars, I'm pretty sure, as a production or someone that was producing that too, I mean, it kind of felt a little different during that time, right, when it shot up to number one.
Yeah, creatively, I always felt like that was one of his best albums.
Mm-hmm.
Creatively, that was like one of his best albums, and he shared a large part of the album with different producers. He had the Temptations and the If I Died Tonight with Me, and then he had joints on there with Johnny J, that's his name, right? His long-time collaborating producer. It was real diverse, man. Real diverse.
Yep.
I loved All Eyes on Me, too. It's just that he was in a different place by the time, but creatively, that was dope, too.
Yeah, anytime I put in Me Against the World, it just kind of takes you back. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, we started off the show with Temptations. It's just one of those songs where, again, like I said, not just the beat and the lyrics, you match them all together. It's one of those things you can listen to it 50 years from now, hands down. It's just one, and it'll put you in a place, if you're lacking with memory, if you get older, and if I'm approaching 70, 75, 80, and if I'm losing it, I put in Temptations, I guarantee you this, I'll remember some of this stuff when I first heard it. I'll remember the video, I'll remember the vibe that trust me, I will remember. I'm saying that now, but, I'll wait 40 years from now and see what happens, but I'm just saying. It'll get me to where I need to be. Let me ask you a question when it comes to just the production. Like, you've been a producer, you've been more or less behind the scenes, for a lot of these artists that are legends in a sense. When there's other production people out there, and when there's younger production people out there who's just getting into the game, how do you feel about it? I mean, we talked about social media earlier and the fact that, there's a lot of, up-and-coming people, producers or beat makers who want to sell their beats, and, they don't even have a resume yet, so to speak. So, I mean, if you were talking to some of the younger people out there who's trying to make their way, what would you tell these producers only, beat makers or whatnot? What would you tell them to what they would need to do in order for them to get themselves right?
Like I was saying before, man, go back and study the best of them, man, that came before you. I always say that if you want to be like a developer, like here in New York, those developers, the ones that build the skyscrapers and build the hotels and stuff like that. You want to be a developer. There's no reason why you shouldn't know who Trump is or the Tishmans. The people who are familiar with developers, they know who they are. If you want to be an artist, right, there's no way in the world that you shouldn't know who Basquiat, is, or Vincent van Gogh. If you are a producer, or you want to be a producer, there's no reason why you shouldn't know who Norman Whitfield was to Motown. You understand? Right. Or who said G and Marley Marl were. It's important. It's important. And then as you gather in this knowledge, just take it and go back, do the research and listen. That whole evolution will explain why you're here doing what you're supposed to do and what your whole purpose is here. When I sit and I listen to stuff that I did as recent as maybe just 12 years ago, I'll sit and I'll listen. I'm like, wow, look at that. There's a little bit of Marley Marl in there, what you did. Let's not get it twisted. We are a result of those who come before us. Don't get it twisted when you sit in there and you tapping out a beat, your kicks and your snares, and you know, that's not just you. You're not doing anything new. There's so many that came before you, and you did that. We gotta really figure out our purpose, why we're here, and those came before us. Once you understand that, it'll make you a better whatever artist, producer, singer, writer, what have you.
Moby, I know a lot of people out there trying to make a buck, but I mean, when you have no resume as far as, you know, attach music onto certain other things, it's kind of like, you know, literally putting out a music resume. Like, I always feel like, you know, if you're an up-and-coming artist, you have to have one or two, maybe more. Sometimes you might have to make financial sacrifices, but should some of these people who's still green, wet behind the ears, whatever you call it, should start selling their beats or whatever for, like, you know, $100, $200, $500 just so they can make a quick buck?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. No, it don't take that much, though, and it don't take a lot of money either, and it don't take a lot of time for you to gather the knowledge, you know, to help perfect your craft, for you to be able to, you know, do what you need to do. A lot of it, when it comes to music, like I said, man, we always influenced by everything that came before us. So it's not always about what you sitting there and you tapping out. Open your mind and go back and listen to, be a lover and an intaker of all kinds of music, and you sit and you listen. It will just open your mind. Automatically, you'll get ideas from listening to things that you heard. You don't have to copy that, but you'll have ideas.
There you go. So a lot of it is more, I guess we could say, you know, self-reflection. Like, to me, it's more like self-investing. Like, you have to invest in self in order to let other people more or less be like, hey, you know what, I'll invest, be it time, financially, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Like, I think you would get that from an artist. Like, I'm pretty sure yourself, you probably had to make purchases to buy certain things in order for you to, you had to buy certain things to be able to further your talent. So it's gonna take that more or less for an artist now. Like, everything can't be handed to you. Like, you have to really just go and invest in yourself before others will invest in you.
Yeah, and like, I'd like be open to drawing from all kinds of sources. Like, say, like, this is what I was thinking about when you was just talking. The Friend of Mine joint on Red Dot with Biggie. You know, there's a female hook in there that comes in. You know that ain't right with the friend of mine. I got the idea. First of all, that's an old disco record. That's an acapella from an old disco record. It's called Black Mamba by, it's called, the artist is called Black Mamba. The record is called Vicious. But I got that idea to put that in that record from my days of hanging out and being, like, in the Paradise Garage. You know what the Paradise Garage is? Paradise Garage in New York in the 80s, like disco, Larry Levan and all of that. I'm sitting around listening in my crib back then around 93 when we was making the album and stuff. I'm sitting in the crib listening to this record, and he had did the Friend of Mine record. He did the vocals. I took the demo home, and there was no hook. I'm sitting there like, what can I do to the hook? And I end up inserting this Paradise Garage, Larry Levan disco thing on Biggie record. So I'm just saying, don't be afraid to draw from all kinds of sources. Now, the average person, when they hear it all as a whole, as one, they sitting there listening to that. You know that ain't right. That ain't right.
Exactly.
They don't know where it all came from. They just know that as one, as a whole, what they listening to, they like it. And that all comes from the open mind.
No doubt, and they don't know the history that's attached to it until they find out. Like you said, like when it comes to that, like, you know, be your own student, be a sponge. You know what I'm saying, and just go to these certain places and find certain things, and don't be afraid to try something. If you're a beat maker, don't be afraid to try something that's probably never been tried before, because you never know. It might be that thing to be able to catch on, and people will be, supporting your creativity in the long run. It's just like lyrics, Don't be afraid to, be creative and think outside the box when it comes to that too. So, it's definitely a wealth of knowledge. And as we get ready to wrap it up with Easy Mo B right here on Nexxlegacy Radio, you have something going on with Chuck D and Public Enemy. So, I can't let you go without talking about And You Don't Stop, sir. What's going on for the fall of 2014?
Yeah, shout to Mecca, who's a point person over there at Slam Jams. Him and Chuck D, they had approached me about Chuck D's Slam Jams records and offered me the opportunity. He was like, yo, would you like to put out a project on the label? I'm like, yo, let's go. So I'm thinking compilation album, right? They're like,
right.
No, we just got this idea to do like an instrumental album. I'm like, okay, you don't want me to put no artist on it? They're like, you don't want me to put no artist on it? I'm like, that's what that's the idea that I have. But in turn, it's going to be an instrumental album. It's going to showcase a lot of my beats, a lot of different styles. I got some stuff that's gonna really shock a lot of people. A lot of the younger and a lot of the newer are gonna be surprised at what they hear, the things I'm flipping on there, the things that I'm doing. And You Don't Stop, that title represents the journey,
Mhm.
We have the 20th anniversary is 25 years. Now, I've been doing it a little longer than that, but I'm counting.
Of course.
Commercially from the date that a commercial release of mine was put out, and that would be Big Daddy Kane, It's a Big Daddy Thing, Forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Before that, I was dabbling with rapping as fundamental and everything, but the first commercial release is like Big Daddy Kane, It's a Big Daddy Thing, Forward. So, And You Don't Stop, it's just representative of the journey that I've been on. A lot of time spent, and I'm still here. And you don't stop.
And you don't stop.
It keeps.
it keeps going. Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. And it's coming out in the fall, right? So we can be able to celebrate this album this coming up fall before Christmas, right? Before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there's gonna be some things with the release, the packaging, and a lot of different ideas coming up with.
Well, you just let me know. Well, Moby, if you can, sir, just let me know what Nexxlegacy needs to do in order for us to not just celebrate it, but to do it, take it back to the old school, and just celebrate, have a party, have a listening party, a house party, whatever, just the good vibes that we so desperately need when it comes to hip-hop. Like, we need that creativity, and I'm glad that you, Chuck D, Mecca, and the people behind the scenes is working to just be able to give us at least a taste of that, man. So, I'm glad. And you tell Chuck D and Mecca, Nexxlegacy brand out here in the Bay, say, hey, and it don't stop. Just saying. Hey, and also people out there, if you're not following Moby on Twitter, make sure you go ahead and do that now at easy_mo_B, and B is spelled B-E-E. And man, I could sit and talk to you for a long time, man. But I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with not just your fans out there listening, but also myself, me being the biggest one. And I'm pretty sure I might get like tweets and debates saying, "Oh, no, you're not. I'm the biggest fan." So it is what it is. I feel like I am. So forget it. It is what it is. But I thank you, man. I really do from the bottom of my heart, bro.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. And anytime you want to have me back on, I'll be glad to come back on. I think with And You Don't Stop, we'll be back anyway, right?
Yes, sir. And you don't stop. And you don't stop.
That's
just saying.
That's a reason.
Exactly. Man, I can't wait to meet you in person so we can just sit down and have a conversation because it just feels like I'm not just talking to the homie. I'm just talking to somebody that just has so much wealth of knowledge and a lot of history attached to you. So I mean, it's an honor, man. It really is, and I'm just glad that you not just blessed me but also blessed your fans out there by tuning in. And I know you want to shout out the Japan fans and the Amsterdam and Germany fans out there too, as well as the States, right?
Oh yeah, shout out to all of the international sect of hip hop, lovers of Easy Mo B and what I do. Much love to you. I also want to shout out Great Minds, that is, a.k.a. Greg Nice and Positive K, who just came together to form a group. Yeah, they doing
That's right.
Some.
There you go.
I have some stuff with them that's getting ready to come out. So also look out for Great Minds. Greg Nice.
Good.
Of Nice
good to hear.
And Positive.
Good to hear. Greg Nice is a homie, so hey, definitely want to. Hey, that's good to hear. With Positive K is it's even better to hear. I'm glad. Hey, happy 25th, man. 25 more years, because you can still do it. You're still a young man. You still got, actually, what? Not even 25. You can still do this stuff for 50 more years, man. You're not done. Because you don't stop, right?
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah, man.
Mo B, man, nice talking to you, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
It's a music icon. It's a music icon right here on Nexxlegacy Radio. He goes by the name of Easy Mo B. More music right here on Nexxlegacy Radio.
Nexxlegacy.